A wolf's breath drifted white in the frozen dark. Slow, patient, hungry. Kate Hargrove tightened her grip on the axe handle, slick with snowmelt and fear. She shoved her 3 children behind her, shielding them with her own trembling frame. 3 months since Andrew died in that mine. 3 months of trying to finish this damned cabin alone. 3 months of nights like this one, cold, endless, and cruel. A low growl rolled across the clearing. The pack leader's yellow eyes fixed on Kate, unblinking. Her youngest whimpered, and with nothing left but her last breath and her last hope, Kate lifted the axe. Worthless against wolves, but better than doing nothing. Then, crack, a rifle split the night open. The leader dropped, snow blooming red beneath it. A voice followed, deep, steady, carved from gravel and winter. Not while I'm standing. Before we ride deeper into this tale, partner, hit that subscribe button right now so this story can travel far past Bitter Creek. And drop a comment telling me where in the world you're watching from. Let's see how far Kate's courage carries. Back to the story, Kate didn't lower the axe. The strength, baby. He scared the wolves, Thomas murmured. Papa used to do that. Before. Time now was split in 2, before the mine. After the mine. Kate brushed his hair back, swallowing the tears that lived too close these days. Mrs. Hargrove, Caleb called through the gap. Need the lamp closer. Kate rose, untangling herself from her children, and carried their only lamp to the opening. In the glow, she saw him clearly for the first time. Weathered, scarred, eyes like a man who'd seen death and didn't much care if it came again. You were a soldier, she said. Yes, ma'am. With Andrew. With him and under him. Best man I ever served beside. A nail rang out as he said it. We were going to finish the cabin come spring, Kate whispered. Start a new life? That's why he worked the mine. Caleb's voice dropped. I know what he was trying to do. He looked up, eyes hard in the lamplight. And I know the collapse wasn't an accident. Kate's heart stopped. What did you say? Caleb kept hammering. It wasn't an accident. But we'll talk about that after your children are warm. Kate's mind spun. What do you mean it wasn't? Hold this beam steady, ma'am. His hands worked around hers, close but careful, respectful. How do you know? Another nail. I know who owns that mine. Another. And I know what your husband found before he died. The cold in Kate's chest had nothing to do with winter. But not tonight, Caleb said softly. Tonight we build walls. Tomorrow we talk about what's buried underneath. Midnight. The walls stood. Chink tight. Canvas hung. Fire bright. Warmth, real warmth, for the first time since Andrew died. The children slept together near the hearth. Kate sat at the rough pine table Andrew had made, a cup of coffee in her hands. Real coffee from Caleb's saddlebags. You carry a lot for a drifter, she said. I'm not a drifter, Caleb answered. I'm a man keeping a promise. What did my husband find? Caleb smoothed Andrew's letter on the table. Andrew and I didn't just serve together. After the war, we worked the same mines. Saved money. Made plans. He swallowed. I had a daughter once. Grace. She died when she was 5. Kate's anger eased. I'm sorry. Fever took her. After that, I couldn't stay anywhere too long. He pressed a hand to Andrew's letter. 6 months ago, Andrew wrote that he'd found something. Not gold. He leaned forward. Water. Kate blinked. Water. An underground spring that feeds the whole valley. Enough for crops, cattle, families. He pointed to the map scribbles. You know why crops fail and cattle die every summer? Because Ezra Wells controls every water source from here to Bitter Creek. Kate's stomach turned. And Andrew found one Wells didn't own? Yes, ma'am. On public land. Land Wells can't claim. Caleb's jaw tightened. And Andrew died the day after he wrote this letter. The truth settled heavy between them. You're saying Wells murdered him. I'm saying it's real convenient that the one man who knew about the spring died alone in a reinforced shaft. Kate's hand shook. Why didn't you come sooner? Winter, Caleb said quietly. Lost my horse in the passes. Nearly lost myself. He met her eyes. I should have been here sooner. I'm sorry. Kate's voice cracked. What do you want from us? Nothing, Caleb said. I'm here to give, not take. Nobody does something for nothing. I do. He stood, checking the fire so he wouldn't wake the children. Your husband saved my life twice. I owed him a debt I could never repay. But I'm trying. He turned. And I'll keep your family safe. Not while I'm standing will harm come to you. Kate wanted to believe him. God, she wanted to believe him. But trust wasn't something she had left. Where's the spring? She asked. That, Caleb said softly, is what we need to figure out. Kate retrieved the wooden carvings Andrew had made for their children. A little horse, a small bird. Caleb turned them under the lamplight, studying every inch like the wood itself whispered secrets. These aren't decorations, he murmured. These are measurements. Kate leaned close. The markings were small, tiny cuts she'd mistaken for Andrew's usual detailed work. But now she saw the pattern, the deliberate spacing, the directional etchings. What about the bird? She asked. Caleb lifted it, eyes narrowing. The bird faces northeast. He traced the feathers with his thumb. And these lines aren't feathers. They're instructions. Turn, pace, dig. A quiet breath left him, half a laugh, half disbelief. He left us a map in children's toys. Caleb shook his head. Smart man, your husband. No one would think to look here. Kate's chest tightened with grief and pride and fury all mixed together. He was going to tell me once the cabin was finished, she whispered. Once we were safe. Yes, ma'am, Caleb said gently. I believe he was. But now, we have to find what Wells wanted buried. Kate clenched the carvings to her chest. And we have to do it before Wells realizes we're looking. Caleb walked to the window, peeking past the canvas. By now someone's seen me here, Mrs. Hargrove. Wells has men with eyes everywhere. He'll hear my name before sunrise. Once he does, he'll know why I came. Kate felt her blood turn cold. The children will be safe, Caleb said, turning back, voice hard as iron. Your husband died protecting this valley. I won't let Wells hurt what he loved. His words hung in the air. Not while I'm standing. Kate realized she was starting to believe him. Kate woke to the steady rhythm of an axe biting wood. For a moment, she forgot. Forgot Andrew was gone. Forgot a stranger slept in her barn. Forgot the spring and the mine and the wolves circling closer. Then Sarah whimpered. Reality returned sharp as winter wind. Kate stepped outside into the cold dawn. Caleb stood splitting firewood, breath steaming, axes dropping in smooth, practiced arcs. He'd already split enough to last 2 weeks. You didn't have to do that, Kate said. He didn't turn. I wasn't doing it for you. I was doing it for Andrew. I can't pay you. Didn't ask you to. Kate wrapped her shawl tighter. I need to understand something. You say you're keeping a promise. But promises don't feed my children. Promises don't stop Wells. No, ma'am. He split another log clean. But a man who keeps his promises is worth more than gold. Kate snorted softly. Pretty words. True words. Caleb leaned the axe against the stump. Your husband saved my life twice. Once at Shiloh, once at Chickamauga. I owed him a debt I could never repay. Now he's gone, and all I can do is stand where he would have stood. Make sure his children grow up knowing their father was a man worth remembering. Kate's breath caught. They barely remember him. Thomas does mostly. Emma, Kate swallowed hard. She's already forgetting. Caleb's expression softened. Then we make sure she remembers. His hand moved to his rifle. And we start by finding that spring. Inside, Kate laid out the carvings again. He'd choose a place I'd know, she murmured. Something familiar. Something meaningful. Caleb's brow furrowed. Where do propose? By Cottonwood Creek. But the creek's dry now. Where'd you marry? Bitter Creek Church. First time you met. Kate smiled despite everything. General store. He knocked over a whole display trying to introduce himself. Caleb chuckled. Sounds like Andrew. She nodded. He wrote about that in every letter, Caleb said. He loved you, Mrs. Hargrove. Fiercely. I know. Kate had to look away. But if he hid the springs, location, he would have hidden it somewhere connected to us. Somewhere that meant something. Or, a tiny voice chimed, somewhere the bird looks. Emma had appeared in the doorway, rubbing sleep from her eyes. Caleb knelt. What do you mean, little one? Emma held up the carved bird. Papa said the bird's always looking for home. Home's northeast. She pointed. So the bird looks northeast. Kate and Caleb locked eyes. a spark of understanding igniting. From where? Caleb asked gently. Emma shrugged. Papa said, from wherever you are. Kate stood so fast her chair scraped. The cabin, she breathed. He meant the cabin. Caleb grabbed his coat. Northeast from here. Come on. Bundled in blankets, carrying lanterns and tools, Kate and Caleb led the children northeast across the snowy forest. The cold bit deep, but warm hope burned beneath Kate's ribs. They reached a small stacked cairn, stones Andrew had placed himself when they first claimed the land. He marked it for me, Kate whispered. Caleb knelt and began removing stones. Thomas helped him, small hands working beside scarred ones. Under the third layer, wrapped in oilcloth, was a wooden box. Kate's breath caught as she opened it. Inside, a folded map, a metal tin, a letter addressed in Andrew's handwriting for Kate. Hands shaking, she opened it. My dearest Kate, if you're reading this, I've failed to keep you safe myself, but I've left you the truth and the key to our future. The spring is real. The coordinates are on the map. Ezra Wells cannot own what belongs to everyone. Fight for it, my love. Fight for our children. And if Caleb Thornton comes, trust him. He is one of the few good men left in this world. I love you always. Kate collapsed to her knees, clutching the letter to her chest. Mama, Thomas whispered. What did Papa leave us? Kate gathered her children in her arms. He left us a chance, she said, voice trembling. A chance at a better future. Behind her, Caleb stood guard, watchful eyes scanning the horizon. He looked like a man who'd made peace with dying, as long as the people behind him lived. Kate rose, tears still burning. Mr. Thornton, she said hoarsely. Yes, ma'am. Thank you for keeping your promise. Caleb's scarred face softened. We're not done yet. The hard part's just beginning. Kate nodded, resolve burning through her grief. Then let's go finish what Andrew started. Caleb touched the brim of his hat. As you say, ma'am. Not while we're standing, Kate said quietly. Caleb smiled, a real one. That's right. The sky turned a pale silver as Kate and Caleb returned to the cabin, the map and Andrew's letter wrapped safely beneath Kate's coat. The children hurried ahead, Thomas dragging a stick through the snow, Emma clutching the carved bird, little Sarah bundled tight in Kate's arms. Caleb stayed behind them, watchful, always watching. Kate felt it with every step, the quiet strength behind her, the way he scanned the trees, the way his hand hovered near his holster whenever the wind snapped wrong. Every man she knew had grown colder after the war. But Caleb Thornton, he had become something else, a shield. As they reached the cabin, he stopped suddenly. Kate turned. What is it? Caleb's jaw tightened. Someone's been here. Kate's stomach dropped. How can you tell? Tracks near the woodpile. Boot prints. Fresh, but not mine. He stepped slow, crouching near the snow-packed ground. His fingers brushed the edges of a print. Wide heel. Worn tread. Whoever was weighs more than I do. Kate's heart beat faster. Wells? She whispered. Caleb shook his head. No. Wells doesn't check things himself. He sends men. He stood again, gaze sharp. This one watched the house, but didn't approach the door. Why would he watch? Kate asked. To see if I came back, Caleb said quietly. Or to see if you had the map. Kate swallowed. Are they coming back? They're already on their way. Once the children were settled with warm bowls of oatmeal, Caleb unfolded the map Andrew had left behind. The candlelight flickered over the careful lines, the cross marks, the hand-drawn ridge lines. Kate sat beside him at the table, close enough to feel the heat radiating from his arm. He was smart, Caleb murmured. He knew they were watching him. So he coded the location in 2 parts. Map plus carvings. Kate traced the map with trembling fingers. And you can read this? Yes, ma'am. Stop calling me ma'am. Caleb blinked. What should I call you? She swallowed. Kate. A small, warm smile tugged at the corner of his mouth. Yes, Kate. The way he said her name made something tighten low in her chest. Safe. Seen. Held. The feelings terrified her. She looked back to the map quickly. So, where's the spring? Caleb tapped a point near the ridge. Right here, between Devil's Backbone and Juniper Hollow. Hidden behind shale. Kate frowned. That's 3 miles from here. 4. Caleb corrected gently. Uphill. Will Wells expect us to go there? Yes. Then we have to go now. Caleb shook his head. Not with the children. Not with Wells already moving. Kate bristled. I can't stay here while you go alone. Kate, he said quietly, you have babies to protect. And you have a promise to keep, she shot back. Silence settled. The fire popped in the hearth. Caleb's voice dropped low, steady. I won't let anything happen to you. Kate looked down at her shaking hands. Something already happened to me, she whispered. Caleb's expression softened, understanding dawning. Losing Andrew wasn't your fault. But Kate didn't answer. She stared into the fire, remembering the day the men brought her Andrew home on a stretcher. How cold his cheek had felt beneath her trembling fingers. How still, how gone, and how the world forced her to keep moving while grief gnawed at her bones. A warm hand covered hers. Caleb's. Kate's breath caught. You're carrying too much alone, he murmured. Tears blurred her vision. She blinked them back quickly. I don't need saving. I didn't say you did. His thumb brushed her knuckles. One careful, grounding stroke. I'm saying you're strong. But even strong people need someone standing with them. The touch lingered, longer than it should have. Then footsteps thundered overhead. Thomas leaned over the loft railing. Ma, someone's coming. Caleb rose in one swift motion, grabbing his rifle. Kate grabbed Sarah and pulled Emma close. Thomas scurried down the ladder and ran to her side. Caleb reached the window. His muscles tensed. Ryder, he said. Kate's heart thudded painfully. Is it Wells? No, Caleb said quietly. It's Sheriff Coburn. Kate exhaled a shaky breath. But Caleb didn't lower the rifle. Kate swallowed. Is he trustworthy? Caleb didn't answer. Not right away. Finally, he used to be. Sheriff Coburn dismounted stiffly. Snow clung to his coat. His eyes were red, either from cold or something darker. Morning, Kate, he said, tipping his hat. Kate held Sarah tighter. Sheriff. He turned to Caleb, sizing him up with a frown. Haven't seen your face in these parts in years. Caleb didn't offer a greeting or a smile. Did Wells send you? Coburn's jaw twitched. I'm checking on families. Wolves have been active. Roads are rough. Thought Kate might need help. Did Wells send you? Caleb repeated. Coburn hesitated, then looked away. Kate felt dread curl through her stomach like icy. Fingers. Caleb stepped forward. Sheriff, if you're here as Wells's dog, turn around. Coburn swallowed. I'm not his dog. No, Caleb asked. Then why are his men watching this cabin? Coburn's shoulders slumped. Ezra owns half the valley, he whispered. He owns the mine, the banks, the water rights. He owns the judge, and he owns my salary. Kate felt the betrayal like a knife. You were Andrew's friend, she whispered. Coburn flinched. I am. But things have changed, Kate. Ezra is nervous. Found out you've been asking questions. He heard Caleb Thornton came back. Kate froze. He knows Caleb's here? Coburn nodded miserably. And he wants you to come with me so we can talk in a safe place. Caleb drew his rifle up slow, a quiet promise. Kate isn't going anywhere with you. Coburn raised both hands. I'm trying to protect you. All of you. Kate, Caleb, Ezra Wells is dangerous. He's rich. He's angry. And he believes you know something. Kate stepped forward, fire flickering in her chest. What does he think we know? Coburn swallowed hard. About the spring. Silence. Cold and heavy. Kate's pulse hammered in her ears. Sheriff, Caleb said softly. You know what he did? Coburn's face contorted. I know he killed Andrew. But I can't prove it. And if Kate doesn't come with me voluntarily, he'll send his men. Caleb stepped between Coburn and the cabin. Then let him come. The wind whistled. A hawk cried overhead. Snow stirred across the clearing. Coburn looked between them, fear twisting his face. Kate, he pleaded, Ezra Wells is riding this way. If he finds you here, if he finds Caleb, someone will die. Kate lifted her chin. Then let it be the man who killed my husband. Coburn's eyes widened. Caleb lowered the rifle slightly. Sheriff, he said, voice lethal and calm, ride home. Forget you saw me. Forget you saw this cabin. Forget Andrew's letter in the spring. Coburn shook his head helplessly. I can't. Caleb stepped closer. You can if you want to live. Coburn opened his mouth, then froze. Hoofbeats. Dozens of them. Growing louder. Closer. Coburn turned white. He's here, he whispered. Caleb's eyes locked with Kate's. Get the children into the cellar. Now. Kate didn't question him. She gathered the children, pushing them toward the trapdoor under the rug. Her hands trembled as she lifted Sarah, lowering her into the dark safety. Thomas followed. Emma last. Kate turned back to Caleb. He grabbed her arm. You stay with them. No, I'm staying with you. No, Kate. Hoofbeats thundered right up to the cabin. Too late. Wells had arrived. Caleb cursed under his breath and shoved Kate into the cellar just as the front door exploded open. Snow Splinter's boots gunmetal the fight had begun. Snow blasted inward as the door burst open, scattering across the cabin floor like shattered glass. The hinges tore free, slamming against the far wall. Kate covered the cellar opening with her body, shielding her children below as boots stomped inside. Ezra Wells entered first. Tall, thick-shouldered, wrapped in a fur-lined coat that screamed wealth in a valley where everyone else scraped by. His dark beard was trimmed sharp, his eyes colder than the winter storm curling around him. 2 hired guns flanked him. Coburn stumbled backward, hands raised, already defeated. Wells stepped inside like he owned the place. Because in his mind, he did. Well, he drawled, eyeing the splintered doorway. Looks like someone beat me to my own welcome. Caleb stood in the center of the cabin, rifle raised, feet planted wide, coat dusted white. He looked carved from iron, the kind of man who would rather die than step aside. Wells's lip curled. Caleb Thornton, he purred, like a ghost crawling out of the dirt. I thought you died in some ditch. Caleb didn't blink. You're standing in a widow's home. Show some respect. A widow? Wells laughed. Her husband dug his own grave. The mine is dangerous work. You killed him, Caleb said quietly. Wells's eyes hardened. You'd better choose your next words wisely. Caleb didn't hesitate. You murdered Andrew Hargrove because he found the spring. The guns behind Wells stiffened. Coburn flinched. Kate held her breath, hand clapped over Emma's mouth below the cellar boards to keep her quiet. Wells chuckled, a slow, mocking sound. So, the dead soldier finally read the dead miner's letter. He took 2 steps forward. You know what the government pays for private water rights? Enough to buy half this valley. He gestured at the floor, at the cracked hearthstones, at the patchwork walls. This poor woman thought she'd make a life out here. Bless her heart. But she never had a chance. Caleb took a single step forward, leveling the rifle. You won't touch her. Wells lifted a hand. Easy there, hero. We both know you won't shoot me in front of a lawman. Coburn trembled. I didn't come here to help you, Ezra. I came to warn them. Wells ignored him completely. His eyes locked onto Caleb with the focus of a rattlesnake coiling for a strike. I know you found the map. Kate stiffened behind the cellar door. Caleb's grip tightened on the rifle. Wells smirked. 2 of my men saw you and the widow walking north. They followed your tracks. The ridge, the cairn, the clues. They saw everything. He stepped closer, 1 step too close. Where is it, Thornton? Silence. Fire crackle. Children breathing beneath the floorboards. Wells bared his teeth. You think you can win? You think you can keep this valley's most precious resource from the richest man in 4 counties? His voice dropped. You think you can protect the widow and her brats? Caleb's entire body went still. Kate felt heat surge in her face, fear, fury, and something deeper. She pressed her palm over Thomas's mouth as he moved to cry out. Caleb's voice came low, controlled. You're not laying a hand on any of them. Wells smiled like a wolf. Oh, I think I will. I think I'll take the spring, the land, and the woman, since her husband can't protest. Kate's breath hitched. A gun cocked, but it wasn't Caleb's. It was Kate's. She'd lifted the old revolver from the cellar wall and eased the trapdoor open just enough for her hand and the muzzle to rise into the room like a striking snake. Wells froze. Caleb's eyes widened, not with fear, but with something like awe. Wells turned his head slowly. Well now, he murmured. The little widow has claws. Kate stood fully now, children huddled behind her, revolver steady in her trembling hands. "You will leave my house," she said, voice shaking but strong. "You will leave my land. You will not come near my children, and you will not speak my husband's name again." Wells laughed. Then Caleb moved, not with hesitation, not with warning, with precision. He swung the rifle up, barrel catching Wells's hand before the outlaw could grab his holster. The hired guns raised their weapons, but Caleb was already moving, driving his shoulder into Wells's chest and shoving him back into the wall. Gunfire exploded. Kate screamed and shielded the children. Caleb ducked the shot, grabbing Wells by the coat and slamming him into the table so hard it cracked down the middle. Snow from Wells's coat scattered across the floor like shattered ice. One of the hired guns turned toward Kate. Caleb roared, and oh, he grabbed the gunman's wrist and twisted hard enough to break bone. The man dropped with a scream, weapon clattering. The second hired gun fired again. Kate gasped, certain she'd seen Caleb jerk back. But he didn't fall. He surged forward, fist cracking into the gunman's jaw, sending him sprawling. Only Wells remained standing now. He lunged for the rifle on the ground. Caleb kicked it away. They collided fists. Boots, curses, slamming into the wall hard enough to shake snow from the beams overhead. Wells grabbed a knife from his belt. Caleb caught his wrist, struggling. They were evenly matched, both strong, both desperate. Kate's heart hammered. Then Caleb's eyes flicked to her, just a single glance. "Trust me." Kate understood. She lifted the revolver, aim steady, breath slow. Wells saw her. His eyes widened. He twisted, trying to use Caleb as a shield. But Caleb wrenched free, shoving Wells off balance, just enough. Kate fired. The gunshot cracked through the cabin like thunder. Wells staggered back, clutching his arm, roaring in pain. Caleb moved in an instant, grabbing him by the coat, slamming him against the shattered table, and pressing a forearm to his throat. "You ever come near this family again," Caleb growled, "and I'll put you in the ground next to every man you've wronged." Wells's breath rasped. "You'll regret this," he gasped. "You'll all regret." Caleb didn't let him finish. He drove his fist into Wells's jaw. The outlaw crumpled to the floor. Silence thundered through the cabin. Kate stood trembling, slowly lowering the revolver, breathing in ragged gasps as the children clung to her. Caleb turned to her, chest heaving, hair loose, blood on his knuckles. "You okay?" he rasped. Kate shook her head. Tears spilled down her cheeks. "No," she whispered, "but I will be." Caleb stepped closer, slowly, respectfully. "You saved my life," he said. Kate looked up at him. "You saved mine." The fire crackled between them. Snow howled outside. The children sobbed softly. And in the space between heartbeat and breath, something shifted. Something fragile. Something new. Something whole. Then, a distant howl echoed in the forest. Not wolves. Not wind. Riders. More riders. Wells's men. Kate's blood ran cold. Caleb reached for his rifle. "This isn't over," he said quietly. Kate nodded, wiping her tears. "Then neither are we." The sound grew louder, hooves pounding like distant thunder rolling over frozen earth. Caleb moved to the shattered doorway, rifle raised, eyes narrowing against the snow whipping inside. Kate felt her pulse in her throat. "How many?" she whispered. Caleb didn't turn. 6, maybe 8. Hard to tell with the wind. Kate swallowed. "Can we fight them?" "No," Caleb said. "Not straight on." Thomas tugged her sleeve. "Mama, are they coming for us?" Kate dropped to her knees, cupping his face in her trembling hands. "They're coming for the spring," she said gently. "But we're not going to let them hurt you." Caleb's voice came low. "They'll be here in minutes. We have one chance." Kate stood. "What do you need me to do?" Caleb finally faced her. "We can't defend the cabin. It's too open, too broken, too many angles." "Then where?" He pointed north. "The ravine." Kate blinked. "The ravine is a trap." "It's a choke point," Caleb corrected. "Narrow enough for one rider at a time. Rocks. Cover. Fresh snow for footprints. And only one way in or out." He loaded another round into his rifle. "If I can slow them there, you and the children can reach the ridge." "The ridge?" Kate asked, confused. Caleb nodded. The ridge leads straight to the spring. Kate's stomach twisted. You want me to take the children toward the one place Wells wants most? Yes, he said firmly. Because that's where he won't expect you to run. She stared at him, snow blowing around them like ghosts. You going to face them alone? Caleb stepped closer. Kate, Andrew died trying to protect this valley. I'm not letting it happen again. The ache in Kate's chest tightened. Caleb, I promised him, Caleb said quietly. And I promised you. She felt tears prick her eyes, but refused to let them fall. Then we go together. He shook his head. You can't fight 8 armed men with a revolver and 3 babies clinging to your skirt. Kate's jaw clenched. Watch me. A small hand slipped into hers. Emma. Mama, she whispered. Don't leave him. Kate's heart cracked. I'm not leaving him, she said, voice shaking. But I'm not letting you die either. Caleb moved forward, so close she could feel the heat of him through the cold. Kate, he murmured, I need you to survive. Your children need you to survive. He touched her hand, brief, warm, grounding. I'll hold the ravine. You get to the ridge. Kate closed her eyes, gathering every bit of strength she had. When she opened them, her voice was steady. We all survive. Together. Caleb studied her, saw the fire in her eyes, and something softened, then hardened again. A decision forged in the space between fear and love. He nodded once. Together then. Caleb threw a handful of snow over the fire, smothering the flames. Smoke billowed upward as Kate wrapped Sarah tight against her chest and grabbed the bundle of supplies Caleb had prepared. Stay close, she whispered to Thomas and Emma. Hold on to my coat. Don't let go. Caleb grabbed Andrew's carvings, the map, the tin, everything that mattered, and tucked them into his coat. Boots pounded outside, men shouting. Wells's voice, furious, wounded, spitting threats like venom. Caleb grabbed Kate's arm. Now! They slipped out the back, snow up to their calves, breath clouding, hearts pounding. Caleb led them through the trees with fast, silent steps. Kate looked back once and saw torches. Wells's men at her cabin, at her life, at Andrew's last memories. Something inside her burned hot enough to melt the snow beneath her feet. Caleb's hand grabbed hers, pulling her forward. Don't look back. She didn't. By the time they reached the split in the cliffs, the hoofbeats were thundering behind them. The ravine yawned before them. Tight walls, jagged stone, deep shadows. Perfect for what Caleb needed to do. Caleb turned to Kate, breath steaming. You take the right path up the ridge. It's hard, but they can't ride up it. Kate stared at him. You're actually staying. Caleb's voice was low, fierce. I'll buy you time. That's all we need. Thomas clutched Caleb's coat. But Mr. Caleb, what if you get hurt? Caleb knelt, touching the boy's shoulder gently. Well now, he said softly. Your papa kept me alive once. Guess it's my turn to keep you safe. Thomas swallowed hard. Come back, he whispered. Please. Caleb's jaw tightened. I'll do my best, son. Kate's breath caught. Caleb hadn't said son by accident. He rose slowly, turning to her. This is where you lead. Caleb, he took her face in both hands. The wind roared. Snow swirled. Her heart hammered. Kate, he whispered, voice breaking. If I don't make it, she grabbed his coat, pulling him closer. No, Kate, no, she said fiercely, tears streaking her cheeks. You don't get to say goodbye. Not after everything. Caleb's breath hitched. She pressed her forehead to his. Come back to me, she whispered. A pause. A heartbeat. A promise. He nodded. I will. He pulled away and climbed onto a ledge overlooking the ravine, rifle ready, jaw set like stone. Kate gathered her children, clutching their small hands. Do exactly as I say, she whispered. Stay low. Stay quiet. Do not look back. Caleb's voice boomed behind them. Kate, go. She ran, the children stumbling beside her, snow crunching underfoot. Behind them, the first rider appeared. Caleb fired. A scream echoed through the canyon. Then gunfire erupted. Snow exploded from the rocks. Horses reared. Men shouted. Caleb's rifle spoke again, loud, sure, unyielding. He held them back. 1 man against 7. Kate swallowed her cry, gripping her children tighter. Keep moving, she whispered desperately. Don't stop. Behind her, Calibur's roar carried across the ravine. Not while I'm standing. And Kate realized he wasn't just fighting. He wasn't just protecting the spring. He was fighting for them. For her. For a life neither of them had dared to hope for. She pulled the children up the steep ridge, snow stinging her face, heart pounding as gunfire cracked behind them, knowing that every step forward depended on one man's courage, and praying she wouldn't. Hear his fall. Gunfire cracked through the ravine like lightning splitting the sky. Snow leapt from the rocks with each shot. Horses screamed. Men cursed. The world thundered behind Kate as she pulled her children up the steep ridge path. Keep your hands on the rocks, she whispered, voice shaking. Don't stop, no matter what you hear. Thomas climbed beside her, jaw clenched in fierce determination. Emma cried softly, but never let go of her mother's coat. Baby Sarah whimpered against Kate's chest. Caleb's rifle roared again. One more shot, then another, then silence. A long, terrible silence. Kate froze on the ridge. Her heart twisted. Caleb, she whispered to the wind. Nothing. Only snow drifting in the cold air, and the distant groan of a wounded horse far below. Thomas tugged her sleeve. Mama, is he? Kate shook her head sharply. Don't say it, she whispered. Keep moving. He'll find us. She prayed she wasn't lying. The ridge path leveled off and curved behind a wall of shale. Kate pushed aside a tangle of juniper branches and stopped. The spring lay before her, a hidden oasis in the winter wilderness. Steam rolled from warm, clear water, a pool fed by a deep crack in the earth Andrew had found and died for. Her breath caught. It's real, she whispered. Emma tugged at her dress. Mama, it's warm. Kate knelt, dipping her trembling hand into the pool. Warm. Alive. Pure. This was life. This was truth. This was the treasure Andrew left behind, and the reason Wells had killed him. Kate pressed her wet hand to her lips as tears finally broke. We did it, she whispered. Your papa did it. But hope turned to fear in a heartbeat as Thomas pointed back down the ridge. Mama, riders. Kate whipped around. 3 of Wells's men, bloody, furious, half-crazed, were climbing up after them. Caleb must have taken down the others, but these were coming fast. Kate stood, placing the children behind her, revolver shaking in her grasp. You come any closer, she warned. An aisle, snow crunched behind her. A shadow rose from the trees. Then Caleb stepped onto the ridge. Wounded, breath ragged, blood on his coat, but standing, still standing. Kate's knees nearly buckled. Caleb, he didn't answer. He stepped in front of her, body forming a wall between her family and the men. You boys don't learn, he rasped. One man snarled. You're dead, Thornton. Caleb raised his rifle with slow, painful steadying. We'll see. But before any man could fire, a distant horn blasted across the valley. Then another. Then voices, loud, echoing. Caleb blinked, startled. Kate gasped. Riders crested the far hill, not Wells's men. Federal uniforms. Blue coats. Badges gleaming. Rifles ready. Leading them was Marshal Boyd, Caleb's old war companion, coat flapping behind him like a flag in the wind. He pointed down toward the ravine where Wells's broken form lay. Ezra Wells, the marshal called. You're under arrest for murder, land theft, extortion, and attempted homicide. The 3 remaining gunmen panicked. Run, one shouted. They turned to flee, and Marshal Boyd's men surrounded them within seconds. The fight was over. Just like that. Caleb lowered his rifle and sank to one knee, drained, bleeding, shaking. Kate rushed to him, dropping beside him in the snow. You're hurt, she cried, voice breaking. I've been worse, he whispered. But when she touched his face, when her fingers brushed the scarred, frozen skin, Caleb leaned into her hand like a man who'd reached the end of a long, brutal trail. You came back, she whispered. Caleb met her eyes. I said I would. Her eyes filled with tears. You scared me. He smiled faintly. You scare me too. Kate let out a broken laugh. What? Caleb reached for her hand, slowly, gently, threading his fingers with hers. Because I didn't know I could feel this way again. Kate's breath stilled. Snow drifted around them. The children huddled close. Marshall Boyd approached, but paused, watching them with quiet respect before speaking. "You found it," he said softly. "The spring. The proof. Your husband's map will stand in any court." Kate nodded, tears slipping down her cheeks. "Andrew deserved justice. And he'll get it," Boyd promised. "Wells is finished." Kate looked at Caleb. "And what about us?" she whispered. Caleb's eyes softened, warm despite the cold. "That depends," he murmured. "Do you want a man with a busted shoulder? A scarred face? A past full of ghosts?" Kate cupped his cheek and leaned her forehead to his. "I want the man who saved my children, who kept his promise, who fought for the truth when no one else would." Caleb's breath trembled. "And I want the woman who stood up to Ezra Wells with a shaking hand and a lion's heart." He brushed his thumb across her cheek. "If you'll have me, Kate, I'd like to stay." Kate swallowed hard. "Not just stay," she whispered. She kissed him, soft, cold, trembling, real. The children wrapped around them, cheering through tears. Kate held Caleb close, feeling his heartbeat against hers. "You're home," she whispered. "You're home now." Caleb exhaled shakily, arms wrapping around her and the children. "Not while I'm standing," he murmured. "That's a promise." If you felt this tale in your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Wild West Emotional Tales, where every story rides through the dust, the danger, and the kind of love that never dies. See you in the next tale, partner.